All right, we'd like to begin. Video on.
Good to go.
Thank you. I'm Jeff Mattingly, the president of the Belleville United Coalition. This is our second annual Candidates Forum, and we would like to thank you for attending, and for the viewing public that will follow you, we'd like to thank them too for tuning in. Our goal as a committee is to basically improve our educational district, and we think one of the most important things we can do is to bring information to you, the public, through whatever means are available, to make your own decisions on the candidates. And that's what we hope we're doing again on our second annual Candidates Forum. I'd like to thank the mayor, council, town manager, and the seniors group themselves for allowing us to use the senior center tonight. We were very happy that we enjoy their cooperation and their heartfelt effort to bring information to you. We would also like to thank Dr. Tom Coe in the district, who, as superintendent, for agreeing to allow MassCom to view this and put this up on WBHS, our cable drop for the high school. Invaluable, lots of people. You can look forward, there should be new scheduling on the bottom that will enable you to find times easily in order to view it, depending upon your personal schedule. And actually, just one further word, the partnering of all of the town's abilities and councils, and that's invaluable to us, and we want to be just that type of liaison to the township people, the voters, the citizens, to provide good and credible information to them to make their own decisions. And now, to thank our guest of honor, Mr. Bob Braun. Mr. Braun's distinguished career as a longtime journalist and editor is punctuated by his extensive knowledge and body of writings for the New Jersey education. So we're very thankful to him. Please join me. Thank you so much, Mr. Braun. Please note that this forum is being recorded. Please take a moment right now to turn off your electronic devices and their sound. We'd also like to ask that the viewing public here refrain from clapping for individual candidate answers, to not, taint a viewing public's, decisions one way or another in terms of, the fairness of this proceeding. So allow them who will be watching, and I have to say, probably 1,000 people will watch on cable, and as many who tune into the WBHS, which could be really very plentiful. So please do that and not clap for the recordings, and except for right now, for our candidates, thank you. Mr. Barrera, Mr. Duralman, Ms. Erica Jocko, Ms. Dean Manganello, and Gina Lombardi, thank you so much. Mr. Braun, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Good evening. Thank you for attending tonight. Thank you for looking, if you're watching on television or on the computer. As Jeff said, I'm Bob Braun, and I'm really honored to be returning tonight to be your moderator. I didn't realize I was the second annual moderator for the second annual forum, so I'm quite pleased. In my years as education editor of the Star-Ledger, and since then as a general columnist, and also now as a blogger about education, I have tried to demonstrate a deep commitment both to public education and the importance of popular control of public schools. I feel privileged that I may play a small part in this community's efforts to improve your system. To that end, I alone have prepared a list of about 15 questions that I will ask all candidates to answer. Some will be very general, some will be very specific. They are designed primarily, and I hope, to allow all candidates to express their views and demonstrate the depth of their knowledge of the position they are seeking to occupy or reoccupy. I have shown the questions to no one, and except for the interaction I had with some of the candidates at last year's debate, I have not spoken to any candidates. I will open by asking the candidates in alphabetical order to make opening statements of no more than 2 minutes. That was the plan, right? And then I will ask the questions rotating through the list in reverse alphabetical order. You don't have to worry about that. I somehow figured out how to do that on the computer. The program will then end with closing statements. So the opening statements will now begin with Mr. Nelson Barrera.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Nelson Barrera, obviously. Let me say thank you. It's great to see everybody show up and share the mutual interest that we have, which is the well-being of our children's education. I have 4 daughters, 2 of which are Belleville graduates. Currently, one a senior at William Patterson with a double major in finance and psychology, and God willing pursuing her master's in finance. And my youngest, which goes to a sophomore at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. So I am very grateful to the teachers, to the system for the education and the role they played in my daughter's life. And I'm giving back the best I can. Hence, I would appreciate the votes weighed on my way so that we can make a difference and improve on things. Again, thank you. We are on the same page, mutual interest for the well-being of our children.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera. I did not mention that Mr. Michael Sheldon will be the timekeeper, and I will have nothing to do with timekeeping, and so he will show his gaily colored paddles, let you know that you're about to get cut off, and then you will be cut off. Our next speaker will be Thomas Rowland.
How you doing, Tom Grolman? I thank everybody for coming. It's a pleasure to see everybody come out, take an interest in our township. I decided to run for the Board of Ed out of disgust on what this current board has done, the mess that our school district is in, and I'm going to put in the full time and effort, everything I have to do if get elected, to clean this mess up and make our school district the best there is. Thank you.
Ms. Erica Jocko.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me here. It's an honor to be here. My name is Erica Jocko. I am living in Belleville over 25 years. I currently own a home with my parents here in Belleville. I graduated from Belleville Elementary School, middle school, and high school. I furthered my education at Seton Hall, earning a dual degree in criminal justice and English. Serving the community has always been a top priority for me because I understand that we must invest in people for our better future together. I currently am an Elks Lodge member, 1123. I participate also at the Belleville Middle School HSA. As an active parent, I also am the founder of the Belleville Ecuadorian Civic Association. In the past, I've been a volunteer coach for over 7 years with the Belleville Recreation Department. I was a past PTA president for elementary school number 9. I have a son in the middle school, a sister in the high school, and I have various cousins in our public schools. We know we are going through trials and tribulations. We must keep ourselves united and fight for our children. And I appreciate your vote on November 3rd so we can do this together. Thank you.
Ms. Christine Lamparello.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to see you all come out tonight. I'm Chris Lamparello. I think most of you have met me before. I've been living here for 13 years with my husband, Michael. Both of my kids graduated through the Belleville school system. My son Vincent goes to King University right now. He's doing a double major in photography and business. My son Anthony aged out of his entitlement in 2014 and is waiting for a space in the over 21 program, so he gets to hang home with me just for now. I've been on many homeschool associations, school number 10, middle school, high school. I'm currently the treasurer of the Special Education Parents Group here in Belleville. I am a Special Olympics bowling coach, and I am a member of the Catholic War Veterans. This isn't my first time to go around. I wanted to run last year and I lost. That's the way things go. But I'm not a quitter. So I'm here again because my interest still lies with making sure that the children in this district have everything that they need.
Thank you. Jean Lombardi. Ms. Jean Lombardi.
Hi, I'm Jean Lombardi, lifelong resident of Belleville, married to Derek, who is also a lifelong resident of Belleville. We have 3 children. One graduated as a sophomore in college, Montclair State University. I have a senior in high school and now a freshman. That's my youngest. My passion has always been community service and giving back to Belleville, the community that I grew up in and I love so dearly. Board of Education, we've had some struggles, yes, but we're past that. That's the past. Going forward with good leadership and more transparency and more accountability, we are going to move very quickly in a very positive direction, and I plan on being part of that movement. I've worked very hard on the 3.5 years I've been on the board and plan to do the same. I'm committed. I am diligent. I've learned a lot. That, there have been some things that I had to learn along the way, but I'm much smarter about it now, and I want to give as much as I can for the next 3 years. So I look forward to your support on November 3rd. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for your opening statements. My first question, and we'll start with Ms. Jean Lombardi, it's pretty general. I wanted to start with a general question about the role of school board members. Clearly, you're not a committee of managers, you're not school employees, you're not presidents of PTAs. You are a member of an elected school board with kinds of, I'm going to answer your question for you, but with your own sorts of responsibilities. So tell me, what is your understanding of exactly what a school board member should be doing, and why do you think you would be best suited to do it? Ms. Lombardi?
School board member, a school board of education is put in place to set policy for the school district, to oversee fiscal monitoring, our budget, make sure it's spent correctly, and to ensure that our children get the best education that we can provide them. With that being said, it's very important that we hire qualified teachers, staff, and most importantly, superintendent and leadership, administrators, and things of that matter. I feel that I'm most qualified because I do have children in the district. I am a taxpayer in Belleville. I've been involved for the last 20 years between school and community organizations. I have a very good understanding now of our issues and what needs to be corrected, and we are on the way to doing that. We have corrected much of it, and I don't give up. I'm not a quitter. I am diligent, like I said. I'm aggressive, and I would like to work with my peers as a team to make Belleville the district that I grew up in years ago, and the school district. It's a wonderful town. Our students are great, faculty and staff. We just need to work as a team and get to the place we need to be, 21st century learning. We have a lot of work to do. We have little money to do it with, but there are ways. We're going to be creative and figure that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lambrello.
Like Jeannie said, the role of the school board is oversight. It's the school board members, the school board of education's job to hire the proper teachers, and that starts with hiring the proper superintendent to lead the district in what it needs to do. From that, we hire the proper teachers that can teach our children everything that they need to learn so that they can go out in the world. I think the most important job of a school board member is to work with the other members to make sure that all the policies are set in place and everything that needs to be done so that the superintendent can run the district can be done. I think that I would be a good board member because I've worked with many, many organizations and many, many people. People are not always going to agree. You can agree and disagree, but you need to work together, and I'm very good at working with people, and I think that that would make, for me, to be a good school board member.
Thank you. Ms. Straka?
I think that the role of a Board of Education representative would be to attend private and public meetings, be present, not miss the meetings, do research before making decisions that affect our children, make sure that I review the budget, also make sure that the policies that are in place are working. If they're not, voice my concern. Also implement new policies that the school district might need, obviously with the vote of my fellow board reps. And also, I think that I would be qualified for this position because I am dedicated, I am focused, and I do my research before making a decision. No one will influence me but my research. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Breland?
Yeah, the board's job is to create policy. And in doing so, when a resolution comes up, you have to do the research. You have to ask questions. You also have to ask questions in the public meetings to give the public an idea of what's going on out there too, instead of everything being done behind closed doors. The system's still a mess, and it needs strong leadership, and I'm the person to do that. I'm here to bring dignity to this board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Breland. Mr. Guerrero?
Indeed, we need transparency, we need unity in the community. And I have to copy some of what Thomas said. We are not, our role is to open to the public, have the parents' input, the teachers' input. I mean, the Board of Education is, the residents, I'm sorry, has entrusted us with the role of trustee, which is an honor. We have a fiduciary duty, just as we do as parents, to provide the best to our children based on our individual budgets at home. We have to do the same thing with the Board of Ed. Prioritize and try to meet the needs in that order. It's not an easy job. Being selfish and doing it with ulterior reasons, if that's the case, is the wrong way to go. Being very informed and sharing the issues before the meetings so that proper voting can take place when the Board of Ed meets and votes on any resolution is very important. And unfortunately, it's happened that sometimes the people are not well informed when they're up there and it's time to make a resolution and then they have to table it and whatnot. We need to clean that up. It's as simple as that. You need ethics, you need proper dynamics, transparency, and unity in the community. It's extremely important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guerrero. Second question is a little more specific. The district recently hired Dr. Richard Tomko to be its superintendent. He wasn't here last year when I was here. I want to know what your impression of the job is that he's done and so far, and how would you, what recommendations might you make for improving it? Start with Ms. Lamparello.
I think that Dr. Tomko's doing an awesome job. I mean, he came in like a spitfire. He got a lot done. I mean, he hasn't even been here a year, and a lot of the stuff that, you know, we needed to have taken care of is taken care of. He's fixed the policies, he's fixed the curriculum, and he has a plan. He came in with a plan, he published the plan, and he held out the plan. I mean, it's that simple. Room for improvement, I think that he needs to work a little bit to get more uniformity across the board. You know, some of the grammar schools do different things than other ones do, and I think that, you know, everybody should kind of do the same thing so that it's, you know, even. But other than that, I think he's doing a wonderful job.
Thank you, Ms. Lamparello. Ms. Jocko.
I think that Mr. Richard Tomko has come in as a breath of fresh air. He has new ideas, he's proactive, and he's trying as hard as he can, considering what he has, basically his resources. So I think he's doing an excellent job, and I think that as a community we need to back him up. And as Chris did say, in the elementary schools there needs to be a little more uniformity in different activities and curriculum. But besides that, he's doing a great job.
Thank you, Ms. Jacko. Mr. Groneman?
The little bit I've dealt with Mr. Tomko, he's doing an okay job. He came into a rough situation. He's cleaned up a lot of things. I'm not totally happy with his hiring practices, and promotions. I believe that we should promote from within, take care of our own, and if jobs are available for people in Belleville, we should be hiring Belleville if they are qualified. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barrera?
I have to disagree with everyone. I believe he's 6 months into the position or something like that. You can't judge within 6 months how great an individual is doing their job. We can't do it in our workplaces. If you're in a dating game, you can't do it. That's ridiculous. He needs to prove himself. He needs to show us the progress that we need and improve the situation. So at this stage, I really have no opinion. It's too early in the game, and I will not say he's great. There's a lot of work to be done.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera. Ms. Lombardi?
There is a lot of work to be done. I feel Dr. Tomko, when he came in with a 90-day entry plan, he has knocked everything out of the park in that 90-day entry plan. Everything he said he would do in 90 days was done. So for me, that's a very good start. That's an A+. Going forward, we have a strategic plan. We have a 5-year plan. We have qualified people in lead roles. We have curriculum written, new books, new technology. Are we there yet? We're not there yet, but we are on our way. I think we need to stop concentrating on the negative and start concentrating on the positive. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help our students, our schools, our leadership, our teachers, anybody, the community, when we are constantly concentrating on the past. We have to look to the future. I believe he's a strong leader, and I think we're going in a great direction, and I have confidence that we will get where we need to be a lot sooner than we thought a year ago. As far as improvements, that I would say for him, there is a consistency throughout the district, and that's being worked on right now. We have very old school buildings. He has a big job ahead of him, and we as a district have a big job ahead of us. Our buildings are 100 years old. We have boilers that are failing. We have a whole bunch of issues that we need to concentrate on. That didn't happen in a year, 2, 3 years ago. That's been happening over time. And they need to be addressed, and they need to be addressed now, so we have a plan to be able to fund that going forward in the near future. So my feeling of Dr. Tomko is that he's doing a wonderful job. I feel our leadership and our administrators are doing a great job. Teachers have been given a lot more PD and training that is needed. And, my feeling is positive. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lombardi. Third question. As you know, the state has assigned a fiscal monitor, Mr. Thomas Egan. What is your understanding, generally, of what a state fiscal monitor does and doesn't do? Ms. Jacko?
The fiscal monitor, Mr. Egan, is supposed to supervise hiring. He's supposed to monitor buildings and grounds. And he's supposed to make sure that basically the needs of the children are being met. And what he's not supposed to be doing is paying close attention to I believe the budget, but he supervises it with committees.
Thank you, Ms. Jacko. Mr. Groneman?
Mr. Egan's main job is to watch over our finances, make sure our money's being spent properly, and it's a simple job to really just watch over, I'm sorry, not a simple job, but that's his main thing, is just to watch over the budgets. He's not supposed to be involved in a lot of other things. His main thing is to watch our finances, watch the taxpayers' money. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grellman. Mr. Barrera?
So if that's his main job, and I'll let the public make their own decisions, obviously that's why we're all here. Why is it, knowing that the boilers, in all the buildings, but let's focus on the 2 schools that currently have no boilers, other than the truck thing that they have parked outside, why is it that we waited till the last hour to address that issue? We all know when we have a water heater at home that it has a 10 or 12-year span. We budget and we prepare for it. If it surpasses that, excellent. But the money has to be there so we can cover it. Why wasn't the board, or Mr. Egan, or any responsible individual with the trustee title, that the public entrusted them to make the right decisions, why weren't they prepared to handle that? Instead, we're spending money on a temporary fix so that later we can go and spend in the proper fix, when it should have been done throughout the summer, because we knew that those buildings, as Ms. Lombardi said, many of them are 100 years old. So this should be a problem that should have been expected, and we should have been ready for it. You guys make your own decision on that.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera. Thank you for anticipating the question that's coming up about the boilers. But it's fine that you brought it up now. Ms. Lombardi. Ms. Lombardi.
Mr. Regan is assigned to us as a fiscal monitor and to make sure that our budget is balanced and we're spending money appropriately. With that being said, I'll spin off Mr. Pereira. The boilers are, and the buildings are that many years old, and so are the boilers. So I know in my home, and anyone else that owns one, I don't know of anybody that has a boiler that's 86 years old. With that being said, it is the Board of Education's responsibility in some plan, long-term plan, to prepare for that. So I think that question would need to be asked to previous boards, to this one, and probably to the one prior to that. As a fiscal monitor, obviously when you're hiring or you have to repair anything, that's all money being spent. So I know a lot of people are not happy with the state monitor being here. He is a fiscal monitor. He did not take over the school district. And, you know, it's very important every time we look to hire or make any kind of changes, add classrooms, add electives, anything like that, that's money, and it is something that would need to pass by him. He should not, what I feel he should not be involved in is day-to-day business. You know, that's up to the superintendent and the staff. And as far as no longer having a state monitor, I know people are anxious to get rid of the state monitor. I personally like having him here right now because we still have this battle of politics that needs to stay out of the schools. And he will be here to make sure that our district is stable and the politics no longer exist. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lombardi. Ms. Lamparelli.
I mean, he's here to make sure that we're not overspending. I mean, that was a problem we had. And, you know, we can't look past it. I mean, it's going to be going on forever because people are going to be bringing it up forever, but it's time to get past that and let him do his job. I mean, our budget's balanced now for the 2015-16 school year that we have going on now, and, you know, he needs to set us up for success to make sure that once we go forward, that doesn't happen again. I mean, that's really what his job it is, to oversee the money, and that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Lamparelli. I'm going to ask a little bit more specific question about Mr. Egan, and then I'm going to ask a question about the boilers. I want to follow up on the general question about state monitors. To ask more specifically, can you cite specific actions taken by Mr. Egan, and can you tell us whether you support or oppose them? And do you have suggestions for what he might do differently? Mr. Grellman?
It's not being a current board member, it's hard to see everything that he's doing. I'm glad he cleared up that Clarity contract. That was one of the big messes. At least we're not giving them their monthly checks for that fraudulent camera system and security system that was put in our schools. We spent $2 million on a security system when the children don't even have books and paper. Just ridiculous.
Thank you, Mr. Drummond. Mr. Barrera?
Obviously, again, I hate to repeat what others have said, but we can't make a specific finger pointing session, which is, I guess, what you're getting at. First of all, I don't think it's right. In generally speaking, he has done some wrong decisions. Let's face it, going back to the boilers. Why are we throwing away temporary boiler service for these schools when it should have been handled properly, one thing for all? Whether it's the previous board or not, that's not necessarily the issue. Again, we're getting into minor stuff. It's that the people that represent the board need to be properly informed and make the best right decisions that they can for our taxpayers, for the kids, and for our community. And this is where, had they been open to have transparency and have information from the teachers on how these schools are hot or how cold they are, and all these issues, we would be able to tackle it in a timely manner. What happened all summer that nothing was done? They waited now for the winter, almost a week before cold hit, to make a rush job and spend money that I don't think should have been spent.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera. Let me just say that it was not the intent of my question to have you point fingers at anyone, but rather to demonstrate your knowledge of what Mr. Egan is doing, has done, and will do in the future. So I want to make that clear. I have no opinion of Mr. Egan one way or the other, so I'm certainly not seeking anybody pointing fingers. Ms. Lombardi?
I guess my perspective is slightly different because I do sit on the Board of Education right now. He has overturned some votes that I am in agreement with. For example, we had no phone system. We were crippled in the beginning of the year. We had no choice. We had to go into a new contract, so we have phones. Parents need to call students. There's an emergency the school needs to call out. We need to have accessibility. We'll go back to the boilers again. In August, we were informed that our boilers were no longer functional, then they would need to be replaced. Obviously, we don't have the funds to do that, so temporary boilers seem to be the short-term fix. There were holdups, and I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. You can do your own homework on that, which is why we were in the 11th hour and had to get those boilers up last minute. October 15th was the cutoff. If they weren't in by then and temperatures hit certain levels, we couldn't have students in those buildings, and then we have a bigger issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Limber.
I have to, echo Jeannie's sentiments. When Mr. Egan first came here, we had a very uncooperative board. They had their own agenda, and they were going to do what they wanted to do. And, he came in, and one of the good things I think he did is he kind of put them into place. He got rid of the Clarity contract, he got rid of some contracts and things that we shouldn't have had. He overturned some votes, and, they were the right thing to do. And, I think that, generally he's doing a good job.
Thank you, Ms. Jericho.
Can you repeat the question, please, so that I can be a little more specific?
Sure. No, I understand that you're at the end of the list. I wanted to follow up. I'm just reading my text. I wanted to ask more specifically, can you cite actions taken by Mr. Egan and tell us whether you support or oppose them? And do you have suggestions for what he might do differently? And as I pointed out in response to Mr. Barrera's comments, I'm not asking you to point fingers of blame, but rather to demonstrate your knowledge of what he is doing, what he should be doing, and whether you support what he is doing or should be doing.
Okay, so since Mr. Egan is the fiscal monitor, and basically when we hire teachers, he makes sure that they are being paid adequately, so he's aware whether we have hired or fired a teacher. I'm not in favor of the middle school having a new principal, so that's a decision. If he overturns different votes and so forth, that's something he should have overturned, because when our children have a principal that's working in that building, that everything is functioning and changes occur, as in the past we've had various principals in various schools in just basically 3 years having more than 4 or 5 principals. We know that the children need at most some stability, even though we don't have the income in the town basically to provide the services to their full capacity that the children need, at least we should have some stability with the presence of the principal or the teachers, as long as they're obviously adequate for the position. Another thing is that in the 2010, I was part of the Building and Grounds Committee as a active parent, and back then we came to the conclusion that the buildings and grounds were not adequate for our children. So we've known this all along. So now we need board members that do something about it, because it needs to be done. The buildings are too hot or too cold, and those are not learning, it doesn't favor the learning process. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jacko. Now, good answer. At last week's board meeting, and correct me if I'm wrong, the community learned that temporary boilers needed to ensure heat at 2 schools this winter would cost more than originally estimated, $325,000 rather than $250,000. Can you tell me why, or can you tell me how the situation was created? Can you tell me why you believe this was allowed to deteriorate to the point where such expensive emergency measures had to be taken? And what will you do as a board member to make sure that this never happens again? Mr. Barrera?
I think it's rather simple, mismanagement. We knew, again, according to what Ms. Jacko just said, we knew that we were in need of the boilers in 2010. 5 years later, nothing was done. Yet, we had a very good, supposedly, surveillance system, which was not needed. Why was that done? I don't know. Is there an ulterior reason? Let the board members that have a play in that clarify on that. I don't know. Till I'm in there, I won't know. But I can tell you, I will try to make the best efforts to be informed and be as aware of everything as possible to make better judgment calls, especially in things of that nature where we're talking heavy capital being spent unnecessarily, taxpayers' money. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burr. Ms. Lombardi?
Yes, so once again, temporary boilers were our only option at this point. I also served on that Buildings and Grounds Community Committee back in 2010. And yes, it was identified that our buildings were in need of many things. Boilers were one, roofs were another, all kinds of things. I'm assuming, and I don't know that because I was not on the board at the time, they had no long-term plan. Every board has a 5 and 10-year plan. And you have these items on there that these need to be addressed. So you budget your money and every year you knock a few off. It's no different than you do in your home. I don't know what happened. I don't know what fell down there. But going forward, we now do have a plan. And, you know, we have to, again, look to the future, look ahead. The past is the past. It's done. We can't go back there and fix it. It's unfortunate. You know, it's a burden on all of us taxpayers. I understand that. Going forward, we need to correct that, and we have to date, and we do need a strong board to make sure and oversee that that money is being spent and these items are being addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lamparello. Lamparello, sorry. Okay, at last week's board meeting, the community learned that temporary boilers needed to ensure 2 schools would have heat this winter would cost more than originally estimated, $325,000 rather than $250,000. Can you tell me your understanding is how this happened? Why do you believe this situation was allowed to deteriorate to the point where such expensive emergency measures had to be taken? And what will you do as a board member to ensure that this won't happen again?
Okay, well, clearly somebody fell down on the job because they were supposed to know that, you know, these boilers needed to be taken care of. I can't say as to who and when and what the time period was, but one thing I will say is that, you know, everything that you get costs more money. I mean, I've never done any work in my house where it didn't cost more than they estimated. I mean, that's just the way the world is. Things like that happen, and, you know, you have to deal with it. They should have been a little bit more proactive, yes. But if it was what was necessary, then it was what was necessary. I mean, I don't know the background part of it, but, you know, I'd rather spend the money than have the kids freezing. I mean, it's really that simple.
Thank you, Ms. Drucker.
Okay, in the past, the past decisions is what led us to this current circumstance of spending that amount of money in such a short time based on the fact that we needed to provide the children with heat. And if we didn't, basically, they would not be attending school until we did. This is a result of mismanagement of monies, nepotism, and bad politics. So that is what has caused us to have this spending, where in the past, all the money we spent on various things that weren't supposed to be spent, we would have already had what we needed. So unfortunately, it is a burden on the taxpayer because it is a mismanagement of their monies. Hopefully now, moving forward, we focus that sometimes we have to spend a little to gain a little, and that is our children need their education. So moving forward, as long as we focus that that's the goal, and in the future, make sure that our Board of Education representatives that we elect do their job, that's what we need to focus on moving forward.
Thank you, Ms. Jacko. Mr. Rutherford?
Same old games. Another $75,000, and they say it like it's nothing. $75,000. $325,000 being thrown in the garbage because of mismanagement. I drive up and down Home Street every day for the last 40 years. Manhattan Welding is always out there fixing those boilers. Did anyone see all these repair bills coming in for these boilers over the last 4 years? I mean, this is just same old game, same old politics. Some things never change. But I'm going to do my best to change everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rutherford. I'm going to continue on the general topic of maintenance and facilities because I think clearly, and this is not part of the question, my editorial comment, one of my main concerns is, of course, the safety of children. There are some, obviously, who in this district who believe many of the schools in the district need extensive repairs. I just want to cite one I heard about just recently. School number 4, for example, a fence had to be constructed so that students and teachers would not walk too close to the building and possibly get hit with falling pieces of the wall, I believe, or the roof. I'm not sure. Generally, do you have any idea of how big the repair and maintenance problem is? And would you be willing to vote for those repairs, even if it means a sizable tax increase? Ms. Lombardi.
Okay, so right now, we have architects that are assessing each of our buildings. We're in the process of doing this right now to see what repairs actually need to be done. They are extensive. I'm certain they'll be expensive. We have 9 schools in the district. With that being said, yeah, I mean, we have to educate 4,500 plus students. We need buildings to do that. So we will need to make repairs. Am I for a tax increase? Not happy about it. It probably would be a referendum. We'd probably have to go out for a referendum. In fact, I'm certain we would. Typically in Belleville, referendums fail. With that being said, we have to take one step at a time. I wish I had that number this evening, but I do not. But I know we will have it shortly, and then we'll have to go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lombardi. Ms. Lamparello.
Years ago, I sat on that referendum committee. We met every week for months. We toured every single building, we broke off into small groups, and we figured out what every building in every school in this town needed, from top to bottom, whether it was the smallest little thing like a light switch, or it was a brand new roof, or it was a brand new building. I know what needs to be done here because I lived it. We did this for months and months. We put our hearts and souls into that referendum, and it failed. And, we wish it would have been different, and if it had been different, then we would have brand new facilities and we would have updated everything. But, you can't have everything. Nobody wants taxes raised. I don't want my taxes to go up. But seriously, I mean, there's a point in time where you have to say, okay, what do I need to do? I mean, the kids need, a safe place to learn and a good building to do it in. And if we need to, do a referendum to fix the buildings, then we're going to need to do it. I mean, it's what's best for the kids, isn't it?
Thank you, Ms. Lamparello. Ms. Draco?
In my opinion, as Jeannie and Chris have said, yes, I was part of the Buildings and Grounds Committee. We toured. I called out of work, took sick days, personal days to do these tours, compare, and participate. And basically, it was give our recommendations as to what we needed to solve the issues we had with buildings and grounds. So yes, I feel that somehow that time was wasted because they didn't take our recommendations into consideration. But moving forward, we know what we need. And I think that currently in taking the estimates, we need to minimum take 3 quotes from 3 different places, compare and contrast them, because sometimes, as we do in our home, we don't just go for that price. We go and compare and see where the sale's at, so that way we can see where we can save. We should also, unfortunately, at that point, raise taxes if we need to have those repairs done. We own a home. Our taxes are gonna go up too. But we have to make sure that moving forward, once again, we make sure that we don't mismanage that money. And as community, residents, parents, senior citizens, children, we need to attend more meetings, be proactive, and be participant in the decisions we make, and also vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Draco. Mr. Berlin?
Repeat the question, please.
Okay, there are some in the district who believe many of the schools in the district need extensive repairs. At school number 4, for example, a fence had to be constructed so that students and teachers were kept away from falling pieces of the building. Do you have any idea of how big the repair and maintenance problem is, and would you be willing to vote for those repairs even if it meant a sizable tax increase?
Well, of course, we have no idea how big the problem is, because everything's hidden from the public. And as being part of the public, they're not going to give us that information. And as far as raising the taxes, our taxes are too high. You got to find another way to fund these things. Of course, they're going to go up. You can't stop taxes from going up. But there's ways to fund things, and our taxes are too high, and you got to find a way to fund these things. There's too much of a burden on the taxpayer in this town, and I'm sick of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grellman. Mr. Barrera?
Homeowners, obviously taxes will go up. The problem we're having is that taxes have gone up. And not to look at the past, but to move forward. Should decisions have to be made that impact the taxes on the homeowners, what's going to happen is you're going to be driving people away. And then you will not have the homeowners to contribute with the taxes. You will have many homes that we have now that are on foreclosure. So that shouldn't be an option. What should have been an option was, again, back to 2010, when that tour was happening and those committees were formed, we should have been, within those 5 years, taking affirmative action to try to correct, little by little, based on the budget, what needed to be corrected and prioritizing that list. Also taking into consideration the public's opinion on what needs to be done. We don't know if we have people in the community that are contractors that maybe can help and give a good bid, but we use our friends or our sources to do such a work, which is not always in the best interest for the budget. Having said that, I think, again, it's mismanagement. We need to address that seriously. And increasing the taxes should be the last thing we do.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera. Your community media have carried stories about redevelopment plans, some of them pretty vast, that could bring hundreds of new housing units to the town, and with them, many new children. How would you as a board member ensure that the district is prepared to absorb an enrollment increase that might occur with development? Ms. Lamparelli?
I think that we need development, but we don't need it to that entity. I mean, a 50-story building with apartments, like, you know, how many people are going to move in and they're going to have children? And our schools are bursting at the seams as they are already. You know, there needs to be a limit. There's a lot of places that I know of that you can only have so many people living in per square foot, or, you know, that needs to be taken into consideration. And this is a very transient town. People move in and they, you know, move in to the schools. They move in, you know, and they don't stay very long. I mean, you know, maybe, you know, it's been said to me before, and I'm gonna steal it from the real estate professional to my left. But, you know, when they build these, you know, high-rises and they build these apartments, they need to have owner occupancy only to a certain extent. Rentals, you know, should be only a small percentage of what can be done out, because people are moving in just, you know, for the kids to go to school. I mean, you know, we need a lot of things, and if these developers would want to come in and they want to build 50-story buildings, you know, maybe they want to give us some money and we can build their schools with it instead. I mean, you know, maybe that's an option. You want to build a 50-story building, you can have your building, but you have to build us a new school to go with it.
Thank you. Ms. Jocko?
Yes, I've attended town meetings and I'm hearing about this developments, and there was one back here that a lot of people, you know, were against. We have a town that a lot of people are being transient to, and unfortunately that has caused our schools to be overcrowded already. And I'm not in favor of it. I understand that we, as a town, need the taxes, right? Because if they come in, those facilities that were lots are going to bring money to the town. So it's a sort of a give and a take. But I don't favor too much of it, because our schools are not fit to house the kids we already have, let alone more. So it's very difficult. I definitely feel that we should focus on grant writing, finding someone who definitely is top-notch there, because we need new facilities. So we have to find a way to build new facilities for the children we already currently have, let alone the ones that are possibly coming in the future. And attending our town meetings is important so that we could voice this concern about these high-rise buildings or apartment complexes, etc., because the town council is who is basically allowing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Groveland?
We have a lot of vacant property in our community, and it does have to be developed. But we got to push for industrial development where we can bring jobs to our community members, so they can earn a fair salary, so they can pay the bills and afford to live in our township, so they don't keep losing their houses. And if residential development comes in, we got to get to these planning board meetings and zoning board meetings and speak up as the public to say what the public wants. You know, we need industry. We don't need residential. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Relman. Mr. Barrera?
So when we started the debate, it was quoted, "Great Egan, great town code," which I disagreed with. Why was school number 1 given away when we knew that we needed a school? And that was voiced by Mr. Fantantoni on many occasions to no avail. Where is the interest of our kids? Where are we going to place those that we have right now? Not to mention, if we expand our living facilities, where are we going to house those new kids? That's ridiculous, irresponsible, and they're not looking at this the way they should, with the main interest being the children, which is the role of the Board of Ed. The rest is politics. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera. And Ms. Lombardi?
The issue with the redevelopment plans that the township is looking to complete Not once have they sat down with the school district to say, if we put up 60-plus units, if we put up 100-plus units, if we do a city block of rentals and apartments, can we house them in the schools? There's no communication. There's no working together, and that's an issue. Because if you have the township building what they feel they want to approve, and schools that can't handle it, we have another financial burden on our hands. We are a very transient town. We have probably more rentals than we do homeowners at this point. We have illegal basement apartments. They're illegal, but they don't pursue. So those students also attend our schools. We did a re-registration. We reduced the enrollment by over 100 students. But if you really pursue the end of illegal basements and that portion of it, it will reduce our student enrollment even more so. The codes and the ordinances in this town are outdated and they're old and they really need to be looked at. And again, I'll agree, we really need more industry and we need to stop building rental units. It's hurting this town and it's not helping.
Thank you. All of you I know want to see improvement in student performance. But I'd like to know from each of you how you define student performance. Is it simply a matter of test scores? Are you in favor of other areas of student development that is not so easily measured? If so, what and how would you like to see those areas developed and measured? Things that can't be tested with a statewide test. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Jocko. Went over my head, sorry, I
I was
apologize.
waiting till I was instructed. Okay. For student performance, how and what I would measure. The activities in the schools. I noticed that after school clubs, for example, because they don't have an advisor, a participant teacher, they are not active. I'm very fond of the environmental club, science club, math club. Some of those clubs don't exist in our middle school, as they did back when I went to school. So for student performance, I really think that those activities show the students leadership skills and that they are going to use as they grow up. So that I definitely am in favor of activities because I feel that will give them better student performance. I'm also in favor of tutoring programs. The high school currently has a tutoring program that is open to honor students, and those honor students teach high school students. I would like to perhaps expand that to the elementary schools or the middle school for the students, because at the same time the students are learning and at the same time they're reinforcing what they've learned. So those are different student performances. And also trips. I know we don't have money, I get it. But there are so many free trips out there. Back in 2008, they gave us a pamphlet, back when I was in the PTA, with over 200 pages of different free activities that the kids can go to. I feel that when you see something in action, you get the concept, rather more so than just reading it in a book. We need the book and being in front of the vision or the activity or whatnot is what reinforces the learning. So I'm in favor of those three things for a better student performance.
Thank you, Mr. Jocko. Mr. Groneman?
Before we're worried about their performance, why don't we give them the technology and the tools they need to so they can perform? We took away their auto shop. We took away their wood shop. This is a blue-collar town. You're taking away their tools, and then you want the students to perform? Let's give them something so they can perform. I mean, come on, let's move forward. Let's do the right thing for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Relman. Mr. Barrera?
Well, the way to rate them, as I said in the previous debate, in my opinion, is it should be more on the teachers and the counselors, and that should be based on the students' individual performance in the classrooms and the different subjects at hand. Their classroom testings, classroom participation, group participation, projects, all that shows and should be able to give us enough to be able to determine how well the student is doing or what their weaknesses are. Having said that, if you look at the CUSAC report, I believe most of it was negative. So we're obviously not doing such a good job. Do we have an answer for that? That's moving to the future, not looking at the past. How are we going to correct those things? That's a big problem that we're having. We wanted to impact the state testing that was mandated. With what technologies are these students supposed to be trained? And how much time do the teachers have to devote to this to give them an additional state testing when they should be in the classroom teaching, not planning and working extra time or getting creative to train them for state testing? Unbelievable. We got to redo everything, to be honest. It's embarrassing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera. Ms. Lombardi?
So, student performance, you're saying other than state testing? Yeah, in addition to that, okay. So for me, student performance, what I see in the high school with my kids being in there, being a board member, and attending many, many different affairs there, there's pride in our students, there's pride in our teachers, there's pride in our administrators. Teacher involvement. You have anything going on, you'll see at least 20% of the high school teachers there, maybe more. We have in the high school Wednesday enrichment program, so all of the classes are shortened by a few minutes, and at the end of the day, they can go to tutoring in any class that they may need help, and any student athlete has to stay there for student enrichment, whether they're doing homework, studying, or getting tutored in a specific area. Sports programs. I've never seen the support of one team for another in years as I have so far this year, and it's very early in the season. These students are happy to be in school, they want to go to school, they want to learn, they do have new computers, as the teachers do. The technology, it's not 100%, but there is much more than there was. Park testing last year, we were able to administer without a hitch. We did have the ability for every student to take that test. Do I agree with the standardized testing? I'm on the fence. We'll see what the results. Park test results are out, so soon to see what that did for us. Our graduation rate, our dropout rate is less than 1%. That says an awful lot about student achievement, and that's highly due to our BUCS program, where if a student is missing credits, they can attend after-school classes and make up those credits so they can graduate. So there is a lot of positive things going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lombardi. Ms. Leporello?
I am so not a standardized test girl. I think it is the biggest waste of time in the world. The teachers are the ones that are in the classrooms with the students, and they're the ones that should be doing the assessments of them and deciding what they need and what they don't need. I can sit here and I can spend 4 hours taking a test, and you can sit here 4 hours and taking a test, and we could have learned the same thing, but because I'm not a good test taker and you are, you're going to do better than I am. And that's not the way to judge a student. The teachers are the ones who are on the front lines, they're with them every single day, and they know what is the best for the students. There has to be another way to assess them to see what they need and what they don't need on the basis that's not a standardized test. That being said, my kid went through Belleville High School, and I can say that there's a lot of pride there. It's very true. And the sports programs, the extracurricular activities, then the chance for them to have help and work with other students. I mean that's a good thing, and that's the way it should be. I would like to see it trickle down a little bit. I'd like to see some of the honor students from the high school working down in the middle school, helping the kids there who are, under performing, and, boost them up, because you know what, it's so much better when you have, a high schooler sitting there helping you do your homework than your parents. I mean, there's lots of things that we can do, and I don't think testing is the way to go. I think that the teachers and the staff are the ones that should be assessing with students and what they need.
Thank you, Ms. Lamparello, and thank you for anticipating my next question, which is, some parents, students, and teachers have criticized the current statewide testing program, the so-called PARCC tests. In Belleville, I believe the number is about 10% opted out of the testing program. Correct me if I'm wrong, you know better. What is your opinion of the test? And if you do, in fact, oppose them, would you encourage parents to opt out? Mr. Groneman?
I'm definitely against the testing. Our students don't have the technology. I keep hearing that they have computers. There are not enough computers for all the students. It used to take two to 3 days to do the standardized testing for a student. Now last year it took 4 weeks to test our students because of lack of computers and lack of technology. I mean, you throw 3 laptops in the classroom and then Tomko sits up there on his big high chair saying, we have technology now. We don't have technology. They're putting on a big forest for the public, and we're going to wake them up when we get in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grellman, but there was another question, and it was, if you oppose these tests, would you encourage parents to opt out?
I would encourage the parents to opt out because the students don't have the tools to properly take the test.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Barrera?
I don't think the parents need to be encouraged, to be honest. I think the parents should step up and know what's going on, hence my eagerness for more parental involvement and welcoming them and giving them the credit that they deserve, which we currently don't do. Questions were asked, yes, the other day at the Board of Ed meeting, and you see the faces and the condescending answers, which is disrespectful to the public, the taxpayers. It's ridiculous. So I think the parents need to step up on that. It's not our responsibility to tell them what to do or not to do. With regards to the testing, I am definitely not for it, for the reasons previously mentioned by myself the other day, as well as in the previous questions. We don't have the technology. It's an effort that's wasted to try to get them equipped to take such a test, and we know the results are negative from what I briefly read this morning. So what's the point? And again, the children need to be judged individually, and who better than the teachers who are with them and know their weaknesses and their strengths by the classwork and the testing, the class testings, and the group work and all that stuff that they do in the classroom. That's where it is, and that's where it should end, and that's where it should be graded and judged based on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera. Ms. Lombardi?
As far as standardized testing, there needs to be a way to assess what students are learning. I'm not sure that that is the answer. I feel that the state puts these standardized tests in place, but I'm not sure that they know what they're going to do with the information once they receive it. Now, I'm very anxious. I did see the initial PARCC test results at the state level. They were not positive. And again, did they know when they got the results what exactly they were going to do with this information? With that being said, there needs to be accountability, that the teachers are teaching and the students are learning. So, there has to be, if that's not the proper way, there has to be another way to measure that. I don't know what the answer is, but it's something that our Board of Education should definitely discuss. There are 41 states out of 50 who have chosen to go this way with the core curriculum standards. So that must do something correctly if 41 out of 50 are in. With that being said, I would not encourage parents to opt their students out, because the parents that I've spoken to and that I'm in touch with, they want to know. They want an assessment. They want to see where their students are. They're preparing for the test anyway, and they have to take it anyway. Why wouldn't you want them to take it and see where they're at? It's better than having no information to where they're at.
Thank you, Ms. Lombardi. Ms. Lamperla.
Like I just said, I'm not a test kind of girl, but I did go take the park test. Our NGA sent out invitations to go to Montclair State and sit there and take the park test, and I did. I took the 4th grade math, I took the 6th grade English, and I took the 8th grade social studies. It was not fun. I can't even imagine what it's like to be a kid and have to be put under that stress. My first computer crashed, Pearson knocked me out. They had to move me to another computer. Well, guess what? It crashed again, and I had to get locked out again, and they moved me to another computer. And they had to keep moving me because once you're locked out for half an hour. That's frustrating, very frustrating, especially if you are a special ed kid, which is where my heart is, and you're taking this test, and you're locked out. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking of my nephew. He would be so frustrated, sitting there for a half an hour waiting to be locked back into the test. There has to be another way. There has got to be another way to assess the students. As for whether you should opt out or not, honestly, I think that's a conversation the parents need to have with their students. If you know your kid's the best, if the parent thinks that their child is going to be stressed out, overly stressed, or is going to have a problem taking the test, then yes, definitely opt out. But if you have a student that says, oh, no problem, no big deal, I'll take it, and is not stressed out, then take it. I mean, it's up to the parents and the teachers. You know, if you think your child is going to have an issue, speak to the teacher. The last thing that you want on test day is a kid that's stressed out, because they're not going to do a good job.
Thank you, Ms. Strecker.
My opinion of the park test. This is a public school, not a private school. So therefore, we have state mandated curriculum, testing. I believe this was just basically an endeavor for a different way to test our students. I've taken many tests at school, at work. I have different trainings consistently, once a week, others once a month. They always want to measure our capacity, our strengths, our weaknesses. So I'm not, in my opinion, we need to know our children's weaknesses so that we can reinforce where their weaknesses lie. Does that mean that we should judge the child just solely on that test? Absolutely not, because some of us are not good test takers. Some of us have other artistic talents, etc. So, in my opinion, I would not tell a parent to opt out or opt in. That's their decision to take, and I wouldn't, I didn't opt out because I wanted to see where my child was. And he is a special ed student, so I would understand that he has frustration. I have frustration at work when my computer's not working, at least 3 times a day, because I have the customer in front of me or on the phone, and if it's not working, it frustrates me. What do? Take a phone number, I'll call you back. We find a solution. So I'm not in favor of it 100%. But I do know that we don't have that much to go against because it's not a private school. It's a public school. But we should voice our concerns always. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Strecker. Mr. Barrera, you will lead off with, do you believe the curriculum in Belleville schools maintains a proper balance among the sciences, humanities, social studies, arts, and trades? What would you like to see changed in the curriculum?
Unfortunately, I am not versed enough to answer that question adequately, in all honesty, and I'm not going to sit here and BS an answer. That's not what this is about. I'm a direct individual, and I like things to be put on the table very clear. Do we need trades in the curriculum? Absolutely. Not everybody is geared to be a graduate and go into the corporate world. So therefore, that I do strongly agree that we should provide that option for the students that wish to go that route. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lombardi?
My opinion, and I am probably most familiar with the curriculum, we are balanced a little bit on the heavy side with the sciences, which is a good thing right now and fairly new. I believe we are weak with the trades, and it is something that we do need to look into and add for our students that will not be college bound. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lamparello?
I agree with, Nelson and Jeannie. I mean, we are light in the trades, and there's a lot of kids who are not going to go on to college, and we need to set them up, for success. That being said, along the same lines, what I really feel we need here is what I had when I was growing up, was work study. When you finish your senior year, you only have a few classes that you need to take, and a lot of times you're sitting in electives and you're kind of fluffing through your day waiting to graduate. And I think what we really need here for those students who are not going to be going on to college is some kind of a work study where they can go out and they can get into the community and they can get jobs so that they can set themselves up for when they do graduate.
Thank you. Ms. Draper?
Definitely, we are lacking in our trades. As a public school, we need to make sure we have all the necessities or resources for our children, so that way we can definitely accommodate whatever they want to pursue in their future. I remember back in high school, they had co-op, so you would have half a day and go do different things and then go to school half a day and gain that experience. So we need to definitely concern ourselves and focus more so on balancing everything, not just certain things in our curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Relman?
It's amazing, everybody agrees, we need trades. But the current board and the past administration sold off all our tools and equipment. It's going to cost the township a fortune to open these shops back up again. I mean, just backwards and backwards and backwards. We got to step forward. We got to step forward. We got to put an end to this. It's time to step forward. I've been pounding down about this auto shop being closed so they can put their maintenance shop there for the just ridiculous, the stuff that's gone on. Everything's still a mess. We got to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Relman. Someone brought up Cusack before. The district recently received a very low rating on the so-called Cusack report from the county. Cusack, correct me if I get this wrong, but I believe it stands for Equality Single Accountability Continuum, which I'm not sure what that means, but that's what it stands for, and determines the extent of state intervention. What do you plan to do to help raise those scores? Ms. Lombardi?
Our CUSAC results were very poor, and once the state came in and we received another audit, they grew. It's oversight. It's qualified people in lead positions and oversight. So we've corrected the leadership positions, and that will correct the oversight. And the Board of Education needs to stay on top of our finances and our policies, and that all plays a part in the findings, CUSAC findings. With that being said, I mean, that's the simple solution. It was devastating, the results. I know most of that has been corrected, and like I said, we do have the right people in the right positions now to make sure that that does not happen again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lamparello?
I think the best thing that we can do to fix the results is learn from the past. I mean, all the things that are on there, they need to be fixed, and we're in the process of doing that, and we need to look ahead and never do it again. I mean, that's the best route to take, is to make sure that, we learn from our mistakes, and that we pay attention to all the little things that, we overlooked here and there, because when you overlook the little things, it grows into something big, and it ends up, causing a problem later on. So what we need to do is just pay attention to the little stuff, and if we pay attention to the little stuff, then the big stuff won't be so bad.
Thank you. Ms. Tracker?
Yes, I'm aware that the CUSAC scores were poor. Basically, at this point, we have to make sure that when we hire a teacher, an administrator, we hire people that have the experience and the knowledge base. Because in the past, we've hired based on nepotism, and that is what has caused us a lot of grief. So we need to move forward and make sure that when we are teaching our children, not only do we leave it up to the teacher, but we reinforce what they've learned at home. And if necessary, make sure you communicate with that teacher teaching your child via email or whatever necessary, phone, however you need to. But we need to be proactive, because the teacher can teach, but we need to reinforce at home as a parent also. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grellman.
The CUSAC report is based on grades, suspensions, buildings and grounds, our maintenance, and finance. The biggest thing that we failed for on the 2013-14 report is finance. Mr. Egan, what are you doing? I mean, this is real simple. Neglect. I mean, I just get frustrated. I lose my words because the mess and everything is, I get emotional about the whole mess. You know, we have a great group of teachers that are teaching our students that they want to evaluate too. These teachers don't need to be evaluated. They're there because they care. They're in that field because they care about our children. People got to start moving in the right direction. Come on, everybody, let's move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grellman. And Mr. Barrera.
A few of my current running mates here mentioned, let's move forward, learn from our mistakes. I guess, without insulting anyone, we are slow learners. We have passed through 2 superintendents, which proved to be a fiasco. Yet we started this debate with great 6 months into the running. I'll say no more on that. We need to improve, and we need the people properly equipped. If they're doing such a great job, we're hiring the teachers and making sure they're well qualified and doing their job. Why do we not trust them, and we need to hunt them down? Constantly persecute them, whether it's with the standardized testing, to be sure they're doing their job. They can teach. The children also have to do their part and learn. And the parents have to be sure that the students are doing their part. It has to be a united effort across the board. And we do need to learn from our mistakes. Not just say it, but act on it and learn from those mistakes and admit when mistakes were made. Thank you.
Thank you. Local media here in the area have reported on a number of what clearly can be viewed as ethical lapses involving the school board, from the controversy over the Clarity school system to flash drives to other questionable decisions. These have cost the district money and certainly degraded the public image of the community. What will you do to correct these problems? Ms. Lamparello?
You know, that's a hard question to answer. People go into these offices and they do it for, possibly their own personal gain, so that their friends can get jobs, so that their companies can get contracts, and they see it as a perk. I don't see it that way. I don't have any people that own businesses that I'm going to be touting. Nobody owns printing companies. Nobody owns maintenance companies. Nobody owns anything that I know that I'm going to be giving them any kind of help in getting jobs. All my relatives have jobs and they don't need them. So that being said, we need to once again learn from the past. I mean, come on, it's a sin that you're looking at News 12 all the time and we're on there, and you're looking on the newspaper and we're on there. I mean, we're getting a bad rap, and the people who did those kind of things, and they need to take responsibility for it. But it's not my job or our job to make that decision. Evidence has been brought forward, and it's up to the prosecutors and the people above us to decide what's going to be done about them. It's not my job, Chris Lamparello, to decide what is the punishment for people who did whatever they did. That's not my job. It's the job of the government and the state and the prosecutors and the people who were put in those positions to make sure that people pay for what they need to be accounted for.
Thank you, Ms. Lamparello. Ms. Jacob, I'm sorry, Jocko, I'm sorry.
Yes, I've heard a lot in the newspaper, on the medias, etc., regarding questionable violations of ethical concepts. And unfortunately, right now, that is not 100% proven, and a judge has not found whomever guilty. So therefore, I can't say they are or are not guilty. In my opinion, if we know something regarding any issues going on that are unethical in regards to our school district, our town, etc., as residents of this town, we need to report whatever needs to be reported. And I know, in fact, some people have taken positions in the Board of Ed or the town because of stepping stones. We all know those are the political agendas. We are very well aware. We also know that some people have been elected or are currently there because their heart is in the right place, focused on their residents or on their children of this town. Whatever means that the person runs in this election, eventually things catch up to you. So what we need to just focus on currently is that those things should be handled by the prosecutors, the attorneys, and the judge or the mediator at that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Everybody on the current board, and except Ralph Lalonde and Patty Dolan, haven't been there for a lot of the mess that has been created. That everybody plays follow the leader, and they all vote the same. Every vote, everybody votes the same. We don't need that mentality up on the board. We need people that are going to stand up, like I see Ralph Lalonde doing at the meetings, where he'll be the only no vote or the only yes vote. That's a man with dignity, and I plan on bringing the same dignity to the board. You know, I wonder how many pencils and reams of paper we could have bought with the money for 2,000 flash drives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Relman. Mr. Barrera?
It's not our job to decide the consequences to be paid by those to be found guilty. However, it is our job when our residents generously vote us and trust us into being the trustee for the Board of Ed, to watch what's being done, to be careful when making decisions. And you know what? If we have an expense that needs to take place, we want to see those bids. We want to review where they're coming from and what's the connection. Is it so-and-so's brother-in-law or whatever the relations might be? Or are we basically doing it based on a business? The best number wins, obviously with the reputation and the guarantee that the job is going to be well done. That's what we should focus on, not the other stuff. And unfortunately, I don't think that's being done. To say or repeat what Thomas said, we're just following the leader. We need to be leaders. We need to follow the leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera. Ms. Lombardi?
I can tell you as a sitting board member, since I guess that comment was directed to me, I am my own person and I do not follow the leader. We are given information, and based on that information, we make the best decision that we can with that information. It sounds easy when you're sitting on that side of the table. It's quite different when you're sitting on this side, and any newly elected official will definitely see that. It would be great to work with a good team that wants to work together. I have not had the opportunity to do that yet, but I do look forward to that. As far as the flash drives, again, I'm not going to repeat what everyone else up here said, but we'll leave that up to the law. We are a committee-based board, and the technology committee would probably be the ones that were overseeing buying flash drives, technology, and things of that sort. They would then feed it back to the rest of the Board of Education, and then we would make a decision accordingly. I can tell you, and probably half the people in this audience that have been opering documents, I have yet to see a on the bill list 2,000 flash drives that we paid for as a district. Thank you.
Thank you. How would you assess the move of the 6th grade from elementary schools in Belleville to the middle school? Has it worked? Should the decision be reversed? Ms. Jaffa?
I was part of the first year with that experience. I was not happy. First off, the schedules were all messed up. My son was in the wrong schedule for 2 months. What does that mean? He lost time for learning. I know that every time there's something new started, it's as though we're slightly guinea pigs, in my opinion. But I don't favor that move. I think that the middle school is overcrowded. The kids are late at least 50% of the time to their next class because there's too many people in the hallway that they have to assign even odd numbers to make sure that's when you go to the locker. So some kids carry more books than others, have to travel up and down, plus the crowd. Then the cafeteria is hot enough. There's not enough lunch times. Some kids are having breakfast for lunch because that's the time that their lunch starts because it's overcrowded. They've added extra times to their lunches during the day. So I'm not in favor of it. I would actually like the 6th grades to be back in their elementary schools.
Thank you, Ms. Jaffa. Mr. Parliament?
I agree, the 6th graders should be put back in the elementary school where they came from. It was done without planning. When they moved them, they were sitting on radiators and on the floor. There was absolutely no room at all for them in the school. There was no planning involved in the move. It's just one of those flim-flam things that the Board of Ed's been doing for years and years. Unbelievable. And there's more problems in that school with, I hear from parents, the bullying and stuff that's still going on. The 6th graders don't belong there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parliament. Mr. Barrera?
That decision should be overturned. You had a school that was already in trouble. Why would you add additional students with no capacity to do so and create a bad situation even worse? It makes no sense. So I totally agree that it should be overturned ASAP. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera. Ms. Lombardi?
I too disagree with having the sixth grade down at the middle school. However, I don't know at this point if we can put them back into the elementary schools. I don't know if the space is there as well, but it's definitely something we need to correct, and we need to figure out what we are going to do. It is overcrowded. The classrooms are large. The year it was moved, it was done in a 3-week period with absolutely no planning. It was a surprise to me, and I sat on that board. With that being said, I'm not making any excuses, but it definitely needs to be resolved as soon as possible. It is not a very good learning environment because it is too crowded. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lamparello?
Look at that again, we all agree. Wasn't a good move, but wasn't a good move, but it's a hard move to go back on. I mean, the grammar schools are overcrowded, we're going to move them back, and I'm going to look at it from the kids' point of view. You're a 5th grader and you graduate out of the junior high into the junior high, and you're hot stuff now, and we're going to throw you back. I mean, what kind of message does that send? Yeah, they shouldn't have moved them, but now we have to, fix the situation and do whatever we can to make sure that the kids are, doing what they need.
How would you characterize the current relationship between the board and its teaching staff, particularly in the light of the controversy surrounding the effort to fire the local union president and the implementation this year of new tenure rules? How would you improve that relationship if you find it not going well? Mr. Rolliman.
It's about taking responsibility. They just had a PERC decision where all they had to do was post a piece of paper on the bulletin boards in the school for 60 days and the whole thing would have been over. But instead, we appeal it in the appellate court, which who knows if it's going to cost the taxpayer another $100,000 because everybody's so stubborn they can't just say, yeah, I was wrong, post a piece of paper, even if you don't think you were wrong. Post a piece of paper, save the taxpayer money. Quit wasting the taxpayer's money. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Early. Mr. Barrera.
I think the statement previously made pretty much covers it. If we are working together, we should do just that. We shouldn't be, we should agree to disagree, if that is the case, because it does happen. It happens in our homes, in our jobs, and obviously it's going to happen in the Board of Ed, and it's going to happen with the teachers. But you put it to a vote, majority wins, and you call it a day. You don't go on a spending free-for-all in legal fees when that makes an impact on the taxpayers. One. Two, it also is a time waster, and it kills a lot of the motivation and the spirit for the teachers. Let's not forget these men and women are co-parenting our kids. They are with our kids 7 hours of the day or so. They're influencing and touching their lives in many ways, not just academics. I think they deserve the respect that they give to the kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lombardi.
I believe there was an appeal both ways. There are 2 appeals. I think the board appealed and so did the BES. So if we're wasting tax dollars, it's on both ends, number 1. Number 2, what I'm hearing tonight is that there's no accountability. There should be no accountability on our teachers. They shouldn't be evaluated. They shouldn't be. I disagree with that 100%. We need to evaluate how well our students are learning and progressing, and we need to evaluate how well our teachers are teaching. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lombardi. Ms. Lamparello?
Here you go. Post it out for 60 days, and that's going to fix it? Not here in Belleville. That's not how things work here. You could post that for 100 days, and it's not going to make everything better. We're going to keep rehashing everything that we've been rehashing for years and years. It's over and done. And until we stop rehashing it, it's going to sit there for 100 days on the wall.
Thank you. Ms. Jacka?
We are parents. We are residents of this town. We are what our children look up to every day. So if we are not adults when making decisions or negotiations, what are we teaching our children? How can we expect things from them when we don't live up to our expectations or others' expectations of us? Unfortunately, everything that has gone on has caused teachers, students, administrators to have low morale. Even Board of Education members that were not part of those decision makings in the past. I think that in everything, even when we're hired at work, we have a 90-day. So everything is measured in this world. So I agree with Jeannie. Since we have to test our students, we should also make sure that our teachers, our administrators are doing what they need to do. Thank you.
All right, this is going to be my last question. Jeff, I don't know whether you're going to give me some other questions. Okay, I will read this and then we will go to the questions from the audience. Some board candidates have received, or board candidates have received the endorsement of various groups, some municipal officials, and the teachers union. How would you assert your independence as a board member from political and other groups that may have played a role in your election? Mr. Barrera?
I don't see it as a role being played, to be honest. If I meet you and we have a conversation and you're impressed by my thoughts, my ideas, and what I can bring to the table, there's no ulterior motive if you vote for me. So I'm not sure why that would be a concern. And if there is some politics behind it, you know what, the town has an interest. The biggest budget is the school budget. And obviously that plays a role in how the town does. So that might be their interest, but that doesn't, I'm going to speak just on my behalf, let me clarify that. That does not interfere with any decisions that I make. I am my own person, I have my own ethics, and I'm not going to compromise my principles. And I proved that earlier when I said I don't have the answer, I'm not going to BS and come up with something to impress anyone here. Honesty and being direct, that's what it's all about. So that's all I have to say on that. Thank you. I would like to thank those that are backing me up or us up individually.
Thank you, Ms. Lombardi.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Board candidates have received the endorsement of various groups, some including municipal officials and the teachers' union. How would you assert your independence from political and other groups that may have played a role in your election?
Based on the fact that I run my election on my own with Ms. Lamparello sitting to my right and I have no political backing, I think that says it all right there. I owe nobody anything. I'm concerned that we have teachers and some other members of the community so involved politically with this election because we're trying to get away from where we were, and that was political backing and all of those problems. So it looks like maybe certain candidates might be headed in that same direction, and that concerns me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lombardi. Ms. Lamparelli.
Well, I don't think I have that problem because nobody's supporting me. I mean, seriously, we want to laugh, we want to giggle, but, we're out here on our own. Town isn't helping me. Big Vote isn't helping me. They're not interested. Town's not interested. Nobody's siphoning any money into my campaign. It's me in my dining room. Run our own campaign. Little tiny war room with the take coffee table and writing out the stuff while you're watching NCIS. It's all politics here, and it's high time it needs to stop being all politics here, because you know what? I'm not political. There's nothing political about me, and if that's a problem, then that's a problem. But you know what? That's me, and that's not going to change.
Thank you, Ms. Lamparello. Ms. Jacka.
I do not accept $1 from anyone in this town, nor do I request it. I feel that as taxpayers, we've paid enough. And I've turned monies down because I feel that, first off, for this position, you don't get paid for it. So you have to see why we are interested in running for this position. Some of us have vested interests, whether they're positive or negative, to each his own. Mine is our children. My loyalty lies to the children. If you support me, you support me. If you do or don't, I'm still going to get the job done, because I will not have that animosity if you vote for me or don't vote for me, because I'm still going to take care of your children, our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grellman.
Well, we want to try and keep things civilly, but we want to be honest up here too, and there's some honesty not going on. First of all, I'd like to thank BUC and the mayor and council for their support in endorsing me and my running mate Nelson. And if elected, I will do the right thing. I will not be influenced. But, they talk about politics and they want to bring it up here. I have a copy of a $300 ticket for a fundraiser for Jeannie and Lombardi, backed by the mayor and the politicians of Bloomfield. Now we're going to bring Bloomfield politics into Belleville? You say you're not being backed. Let's keep this clean. Let's be honest. You're not even being honest in the debate. God forbid. Thank you.
Mr. Grellman, thank you, but I think I need to ask Ms. Lombardi, who was mentioned by name, to respond to your comment.
Mayor Venetian from Bloomfield happens to be my cousin, and it was a complete family backing. And I mean, nobody in Bloomfield can wag the tails of the people in Belleville, so I'm not sure
300 a ticket.
where you're going with that.
300, you
All right,
said you don't
I-
have no political people
I
back?
think.
Not in Belleville. Not in Belleville.
No, bring Bloomfield out. Let's bring
Not,
Bloomfield out.
Belleville has no say, Bloomfield has no say in Belleville, Tom.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you, thank you. Now we're going to have some questions. Where are they? Thank you.
There is some other cards, so we think it was your question that you previously.
Okay, sure.
Announced that.
Okay, I will read these. I haven't read them before, so I mean, forgive me if I trip over some things here. And it's going to, first answer is going to be given by Ms. Lombardi. During the last town council meeting, the council approved using its legal powers under state law to conduct its own criminal investigations of any entity within Belleville, including the Board of Education. State law also gives the council broad powers, including subpoena. If you are elected to the Board of Education, will you pledge tonight to fully comply with such township investigations, including not using board legal counsel to impede or block any investigation? Ms. Lombardi?
Absolutely. If there's something that board, legal, our legal counsel has to step in because you are a board trustee, then they need to do that. But I have no problem with an investigation, subpoena, or anything of that nature. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lamparello.
Hey, if the town council wants to make a committee and they think they can do a better job than the people that are doing it so far, have at it.
Thank you, Ms. Straka.
I will comply with everything needed to be a Board of Education representative. But I do hope that whoever is questioning me is also reputable. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grolleman. I'm sorry, Mr. Grolleman. Sorry.
I understand that the committee the council is creating there's going to be 2 memberships of the community, which everyone from the community had an opportunity to do an application, so they could be chosen, and I hope we get some reliable people from the community on that committee. This way we have a combination of our community members and the council, and I hope somebody's held accountable for the damage that's done to our township. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grolleman. Mr. Barrera?
Simple question, simple answer. I have nothing to hide, so if they need to investigate anything on me, by all means, bring it on. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Considering the, and Ms. Lamparello will have this question first. Considering the very likely need to build another elementary school in the very near future to address current deterioration overcrowding, will you support Title 18, NJSA 18A20-2, and use board authority to regain control of the school number 1 property? As this is essentially the only significant parcel of land, 1.6 acres, left in Belleville, and would you avoid using eminent domain to secure property for another school?
If that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. I mean, we need a place for our kids to learn. And if it means that we have to take the piece of land back, then let's take it back.
Thank you, Ms. Lamparello. Ms. Straka?
I recall that year when we supposedly advertised for years to sell school number 1. And I recall the board at the time and the board over the years stating that we could not sell that piece of land. 8 months after we sold it for $1 to the town, magically they sold it for $1 million. And to me, that right there, I wanted to know why. Why, first of all, did we sell it for $1? 2, why didn't the town give us that $1 million and say, listen, our kids need it? Because in a sense, our kids are the future of this town, and we know we have high crimes going on currently, right? So I think we should invest in our children, because they're the ones who are going to be taking care of us when we get elderly, right? All of these things going on in my thoughts. So in a sense, I want that school property back. It belonged to us, and somebody outsmarted for some reason in that decision making. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Draco. Mr. Groneman?
Well, the number one school property, I'm not aware of, the way it was sounded like something underhanded was done. I'm not aware of anything like that. I hope there wasn't. And to acquire it back, it's going to take research to see what it's going to cost to put up a new school, what it's going to cost to buy the property, and you could answer the question then. I can't answer the question without having figures in front of me and knowing how it's going to affect the taxpayer. My responsibility is to the taxpayer and to the children of the township of Belleville. And I can't make decisions without research done and having the facts in front of me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Groneman. Mr. Guerrero?
Yes, I definitely think that we should do our best to get that back. Obviously, the decision cannot be made without having the facts, excuse me, and the background for it, so we can make a educated and well-versed decision. We don't have too many options. Not to say that we don't have any options. So therefore, it should be seriously considered, as that would be the only way that we can improve spacing for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guerrero. Ms. Lombardi?
Yes, I would agree with Mr. Barrera. It's definitely something we should consider. Mr. Frantantoni's been saying it for years. We've gotten a lot of information as a board. Can use it, can't use it. The upgrades would be millions because it's been closed for so long. The building's gone now, and the property's been cleaned up. It's vacant land. If we have to take an eminent domain to put a school up, it seems to make sense to me, but we do need to do research and have good information to make an informed decision.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Draco is going to be the first on this question. As was announced yesterday, the majority of New Jersey students in grades 3 through 11 failed to meet grade level expectation with PARC. Do you support PARC, and if so, what specific initiatives will you undertake to support staff and students and better inform the community about PARC, considering that well over 300 children opted out of PARC testing, were opted out of PARC testing by their parents? It's similar to a previous question, but it does, I think, talk about what would you undertake to support staff and students and better inform the community about PARC, considering, well, anyway. Ms. Draco? I think the question is, what would you do to support staff and students to do better on the PARC test?
Okay, to support staff and students for better test taking of PARC. First off, I'm going to definitely address our state and get all the necessary information we need as to whether they need to provide all the materials necessary for us to be adequate, basically, because it's a state mandated test. So the state needs to answer to me if I'm on the board. So they have to give me the resources needed for me to teach our staff or provide the materials to our staff and our students. Unfortunately, there's not enough time during the day for them to learn the necessary things they currently need to learn on subject matters. And then on top of that, have to teach them the PARC. So I don't know if we're going to get parents involved, or we're going to send a study sheet, whatnot necessary, whatever it takes for us to comply with the state, because we are a public school. I'm going to have to research and make sure that we get it done.
Thank you. Mr. Groneman?
Real simple. I'm against PARC testing. Let's get down to the nuts and bolts teaching and teach our children. Let's move forward. Real simple, quick answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Guerrero?
Adding to what Thomas said, and going back to the interest of being able to rate our teachers, I think the scores of our children should speak for themselves, the report cards, and that's obviously something that's driven by the teachers' efforts and how well they teach and how good the students learn. and also whether they're graduates with honors and all those different accolades that some of our graduates are able to obtain. Obviously, where does that come from? From the teaching efforts of our teachers. So that should speak with regards to our interest in how to judge our teachers. Not to mention that if they've been teaching for X amount of years, that should speak for itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burr. Ms. Lombardi?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Sure. Okay, as was announced yesterday by the State Education Department, the majority of New Jersey students in grades 3 to 11 failed to meet grade level expectations with PARC. Do you support PARC, and if so, what specific initiatives will you undertake to support staff and students and better inform the community about PARC, considering that well over 300 children were opted out of PARC testing by their parents? And I sort of added to it that it seems like a question about how would you support staff and students in dealing with PARC.
All right, so with the results statewide that most didn't pass, grades 3 to 11, that's a concern right there. I'm not, again, certain if I support or I don't support. It's too soon to tell. We've invested a lot of time already and taken a lot of class time away from our teachers trying to prepare for this last year. You know, we do have more technology this year. That's not necessarily the answer, because if the test, if students didn't do well across the board, there's districts that have everything they needed to take this test and they still didn't do well. So that makes me question the test as a whole. You know, I'm not sure at this point. We really need to drill down and see exactly where we are in our district and see what it is that we can do. I do believe we need teacher input here. You know, we can't make all these decisions at a high level because the teachers are in the classroom and they know what's going on. And if they don't have time to teach because they're too busy preparing, trying to get the computers ready, trying to get all the students on, to stay on, not get knocked off, get the test completed, I don't know what the benefit of all that really is. So I'm up in the air with PARC test at this point in time. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, Ms. Lamparello.
I mean, I think it's really on the teachers at this point. They're the ones who have to give the tests, and they're the ones who are on the front lines. Once again, they need to be, you know, tell us what we need to do to give them the support they need to do whatever they need, whether it's taking the test, teaching to the test, helping the kids be able to take the test. I mean, you know, that's really, you know, it's on them. You know, we're not, as a board member, you're not in the classroom all the time. The teachers are the ones who really need to, you know, tell us what we need to do.
Thank you. I have been informed that our 2 hours together has come to a close, and I cannot go through some questions, which I thought were fairly interesting, but those of you who posed them can see the targets of your curiosity right here if you want to talk to them later. So now we will move to closing statements. We began with opening statements in alphabetical order. We will begin closing statements in reverse alphabetical order, assuming I know my alphabet well enough, and start with Ms. Lombardi.
So I was elected to the board in 2012 with the full support of the Mayor, Council, and Board of Education. Fast forward to 3.5 years later, I am running on my own with my running mate and look to serve the next 3 years on this board with a very productive team, very strong leadership, and we want to provide our students with the best education possible, and I definitely know that I can be integral in that process. So I look forward to your support on November 3rd. Thank you for coming, and thank you to BUC for having this forum this evening. This is wonderful.
Thank you. Ms. Lamparello?
A year ago, I sat in this room, in this seat alphabetically, and I said we were on the precipice of change, and we were. Boy, have things changed. We have a new superintendent, and I think the district is moving in the right direction. You know, we have a lot of political groups that are jumping up and down, telling you who you should vote for, who you shouldn't vote for. It's not their decision. It's yours. You're the taxpayer. You're the ones who pay the taxes, and you're the ones who vote. Hopefully, on November 3rd, you'll decide to vote for me, because I am truly here for the kids. I want to thank BUC for having us. It's been a very nice evening.
Thank you, Ms. Jacob.
Thank you for having me tonight. I appreciate the invitation. I was here last year, I believe in the same seat also.
I wasn't sure that I had nothing to do with the seating here.
So I want to thank everyone for coming. Hopefully those that did not come are able to see it in the media with our lovely technology that does exist out there. I want everyone to know that if I am elected, I will put the needs of the children first. I have loved our children many years with fun days, activities, trips. I look at them and I see the future. They inspire me when I see them. Running around, learning, interacting. I wonder what they're going to become. What a teacher, a veterinarian, a doctor, a lawyer, a mayor, a board of ed rep. I don't know what they're going to become. But I do want you to know that we should all be participants. And if I am elected, I will make sure that each of you know what's going on. If I have to make a phone call to let you know what's going on, I will do it. I need people to understand that their vote matters. Some people I've spoken to say it doesn't matter, it's politics. And then I make sure the person knows your vote can make a difference. My loyalties lie to the children of this town, to the taxpayers, to the residents, to our senior citizens, to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Grellerman?
I'd like to thank all the residents for coming out tonight, Bob for running this event. I'd like to wish all the candidates good luck in the election. I'd like to thank the mayor and council and B-Vote for endorsing myself and Nelson Barrera. I am 100% dedicated to the Township of Belleville and the students. I love my town. Let's move the town forward. Everyone please vote November 3rd for Alderman Barrera. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grellerman. Mr. Barrera?
It's over. Thank you to the community, BUC, everyone here, the TV audience for the future that will be seeing this, and to my running candidates, a big thank you for having this opportunity so that we can sort of share our thoughts and our interest in the well-being of our children and their education. I think that's the bottom line. It's important that we're all on the same page with regards to that. And obviously, I hope that you guys are well informed and make your proper decisions without any influence on November 3rd, voting day. It's for your children, our community. Unity in the community is important. Grellerman and Barrera. Thank you to everyone again. Running mates, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Audience, for kind attention, but I do think Mr. Manning will have the last word.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Not my
and
choice, I
gentlemen,
think it was yours.
can we have a big hand of applause for our candidates? And our moderator. Thank you so much. That concludes our event this evening. Belleville United Coalition appreciates your attendance, your viewership that'll soon be pending. We encourage everyone to come out and vote. Vote for your candidate. May the best man or woman win. Thank you. Good evening.